Welcome to Life Plus Homeschooling. I'm Rebecca Kelleher, and today we're talking about the importance of the arts in your child's education. And with me is Lori Lane from Ardios Academy. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you for having me, Rebecca.
Now, this is a subject that's very near and dear to your heart. We've talked about this many times, and I love how you explained the importance. So tell our audience first a little bit about yourself and Ardios Academy. What is Ardios?
Ardios Academies began and then expanded from the idea that children need instruction in the arts from a very early age all the way through high school in order for us to be talking to them from a wholehearted perspective.
Okay. Now, Ardios Academy, is that an online site? Is that...
A little of both.
Okay.
We have a curriculum that can be used at home, and we also have locations where students come together and learn in this format together.
Is that like a co-op or enrichment?
No, it's not a co-op. It is more like a school that meets one day a week with a basis and a foundation in the arts on one day and in academics the other.
Oh, that's great. That sounds... And now, is that just local to one area, or is that across the nation?
No, we have 6 different locations right now, and a 7th one, I think, opening here in Tennessee soon. We have 2 in Georgia, 1 in South Carolina, 1 in Texas, 1 in Colorado, and 1 in Santa Barbara, California.
So our audience would do well to check out your website. But first, you need to listen to the importance of why you need the arts in education. Now, this is interesting because as a homeschooling mom, when I first started out, I was going to a very, very conservative, traditional type of church, and I was being told that the arts were not important. And so what is your take on why the arts are so important?
Well, I could talk for days on this. First of all, from a biblical perspective, the first thing that we learn about God is that He's a creator. Bottom line, He's a creator. In the beginning, God created.
Right.
And if we were made in God's image, as we say we believe, then that means every one of us has creativity to some degree in different areas of our lives. And that needs to be developed if we're going to talk to our children and develop our children to be fully equipped, which is where the word ardios comes from.
And we are image bearers of God.
And God puts a big emphasis on that. If you look in the Old Testament as to how He designed the tabernacle and then again in the temple, the art that was put in there, the design was reflective of Him, and that's our job, is to be reflections of Him in our output, in our creative output.
For some homeschooling moms, they're probably listening in and they're going, "What do you mean arts? I mean, you talking art class?" So explain to our audience what the arts entail.
Well, when I'm talking about the arts, I'm talking about several different areas. You're talking about theater, you're talking about literature, you're talking about media arts, visual arts, and of course music.
Okay, and that's a lot there. And we tend to think piano lessons are great, but you're saying it's so much more than just that.
It is, and I think that one of the reasons that's so important is that the arts are very influential to us today. Now, I can give you all sorts of statistics on why this will help your child academically, why it will help them get a job. You know, $166.2 billion of revenue comes from jobs that are arts related. So there are jobs in the arts. But beyond that, your child is influenced by the arts.
Right.
So if they don't understand them, they don't understand how they work and how worldviews are expressed through the arts, you've left a vulnerable area in your child's
and we're not
development.
talking about Shakespeare influencing them, although he does if you are teaching. But their music, their movies, what they're looking at on TV, what they're looking at in books and reading, all of that is in the newspaper. Everything is influencing them right now and for the rest of their lives.
Exactly.
And so when we're saying the arts, we're not talking just historical, although that's equally as important.
It is, but let me give you an example of that. One of the things that we do at Ardios Academies is we do a worldview scope and sequence, especially in our conservatory level, but it begins even at the kindergarten level, where the students are understanding how worldview is expressed through the arts. Now, they're getting all the skills as well.
Right.
But it's important for them to understand that. And one of the examples I use to kind of bring this home to parents is they're like, yeah, whatever, worldview is expressed, yeah. But one of the most poignant examples I have of this is I was working on my master's degree and I had to take a whole entire semester on Wagnerian opera. Now, that's the kind of opera where the women wear the helmets with the horns coming out, right? And Wagner, of course, was part Jewish, but he wrote a lot of pamphlets and books that were anti-Semitic. And in his operas, you will often see Jews portrayed in a negative way. He was an anti-Semite. He didn't want anybody to know he was Jewish. That happened in the 1850s to the late 1800s. Fast forward towards the development of what was going to happen in World War II.
Right.
Do you want to know who Hitler's favorite composer was? Wagner.
Yeah.
We are drawn to arts that represent our worldview. And if we don't teach our kids how to be discerning in that, we leave them, again, vulnerable in an area that is very influential in today's society.
Right. So now tell me, how do parents practically make sure that they are including the arts in their homeschooling? Well, and it's honestly, it's intimidating to me because I do not know, and I have not studied the history of the arts.
Right.
I have not studied, and I'm not musically inclined or inclined to even art and doing the art class.
Right.
Popsicle sticks were my friends.
They're not mine.
Right. So how do if you take in a homeschooling mom, how does she incorporate this?
Well, a great start for early ages is just having that available, creative outlets available to their kids within the home, whether it's art supplies, whether it's the music that's being played within the home. But for homeschoolers specifically, there are some really awesome developing resources that are out there now.
There's drama classes now.
There are, but choirs. I would be very careful, again, to watch what influences are in there. Now, I'm not one to say you shouldn't be involved in the arts,
right? But
I am one to say that you need to be discerning as to what influences you're allowing in your child's life at what development period in your child.
Well said, well said. Now, some of our moms listening might be of the mindset, kind of like I was. I was very afraid for my children to read Homer. I was afraid, for one, I was afraid of them reading because I didn't fully understand it because I did not take. I grew up in more of that traditional conservative home where we were not allowed to read literature.
Right.
It was taboo because it mentioned things that we weren't supposed to, listen or read about. How can you encourage those moms?
Well, I would say I would bring them back to what Paul says, that you need to be in the world, but not of the world. And when your child leaves home, he will be in the world.
Right.
And he needs to be equipped. And that's what the word artios means, is fully equipped. And that's what we're all about, what we're doing within our family and what we're doing with the families at Artios. So your child needs to understand biblical principles before interacting with that type of culture, so that when they experience things that go contrary to what Scripture says, they can do a compare and contrast. Right. That's what Paul means by being in the world but not of the world. So then I can be ready to give an answer to any man for the faith that is in me, because I'm not afraid of what's in the world, because I know of the power that God has put within me as a child of His.
Now, and one of the important parts of that would be having it in your home while they are in the home with you, so that you can present the different worldviews and the compare and contrast, versus having it so taboo that as soon as they hit 18 and they see it out in the world, they don't know how to handle it.
Right, and I think you've got several different extremes. You've got some parents that don't pay any attention to what's going in the ear gate and the eye gate of their child, and you've got others that want to, put duct tape over the ear gate and the eye gate
well said.
Until they leave their head, leave the home.
Right.
There's a balance between those two, based on your child's strengths and their weaknesses when they're ready for things, but there's no better place for them to be exposed to and learn to compare and contrast truth with a lie than in your home. And again,
and the arts are the arts are probably the best mechanism for doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you'll look through, you look through arts history and history in general, truth is often displayed through the arts. And so you can look at it and say, there's truth, there's not truth. There's something that goes contrary to Scripture, and that's really important.
Now let me ask you, when you first started homeschooling, you've been in homeschooling for many, many years. You now have adult children who are married with children. Was this something that you already knew about? Is this something that through homeschooling you discovered?
Well, I have an arts background, so you would think that it would be something I would have put in there immediately. But I was so overwhelmed by the whole academic structure, quote, of homeschooling that was required, that before I got into the whole creative and integrative approach to homeschooling, what we like to call as Ardios, where we're being fully equipped, we're fully equipping those children, that I often left it out because I just didn't feel like there was enough of me to go around.
Right.
And that's where we learned the importance of pulling people together, because arts can be a very social thing, and that's what Ardios Academies is about, is pulling those kids together and being able to help parents that may not have a background in that, and those of us who may not feel like there's enough of us to go around to still include them.
I was going to say, if it wasn't for the I don't want to say co-op because it's not co-op, it's enrichment.
Right.
Because it's, I know what you're saying, co-op is teacher, homeschooling parents being the teachers.
Right.
Enrichment is getting, very qualified, trained individuals coming in and teaching. I know if we didn't have that option, I would be leaving it out. And so we are thankful. We're thankful to you, Lori, for having Ardios Academy. I mean, it's what a great resource. And if you guys want to check out some more information about Ardios, making sure, you could take advantage of it in your neighborhood, please visit Lori's website, ardiosacademy.com. Yes. And she also runs another website called heartofthematter.com. heartofthematterinline.com, where you can find encouragement on homeschooling and practical tips as well. But check out Ardios Academy. I know you will be blessed by it, as I've been blessed by what I've been able to hear from you today.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.